one of our favorite fighters at 135. Frank Martin, the Ghost.
Okay, I got
now
it.
You see him, now you don't.
Should have our guy on.
Yeah, we could have. He fights Ricardo Nunez. Just another fight for him just to continue to grow at 135. You're a Frank Martin fan, SB.
I am. I'm a Frank Martin fan. He told me he was going to be coming back, and I'm going to go ahead and bust him out. He was wanting to get on the podcast to promote the fight, and I was
damn.
Like, yeah, he called. Yeah, he hit me up. So we might get him on in the next, and relatively soon. Or is that fight next week?
Yeah, his fight's next week.
Yeah.
Hey, I messed up too, Shawn, because me and him was talking about some merch. I ain't get the merch to my man yet.
I like that Shawn said, I'm going to bust him out, and then busted himself out for not getting Frank Martin on the show. Yeah. Frank Martin doing what he's supposed to as a fighter. Wants to promote his fight. And I don't speak for you guys. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's certainly going to be a threat at 135.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me speak on why I'm a fan of him. And I obviously, I think that it does, if it's not obvious, I think that it does. For me, it does something to the fact that nobody really talks about him. I was never someone that was like, man, they're not talking about me. But at the same time, I just knew that when I was the B side, or I was the guy counted out, it was like, where's the respect, And so for me, it was kind of funny, but I look at him not like he's me, but I look at him in the sense that he understands that he's going to go out. He has to go out there and put on the show. And for guys that have that understanding, it just kind of is second nature for us to do the things that we do. For him, it's speed, it's quickness, it's that southpaw stance. He's defense. Got power too. And it's the fact that he's working with Derrick James. He told me he feels like Derrick James has taken him to another level since working with him. You know what I mean? So I think that it's safe to say that until Frank is in the ring with one of the heavy hitters at 135, we should expect him to shine. We should expect him to increase his profile. And, that's what I expect out of this fight, out of him next week.
What do you think, Zittel? You like him in the mix at the top, the 135?
Definitely think he's like a dark horse, because obviously the Four Kings and those guys got up all the press and the attention deservedly. But I think I may have actually been there the day he really helped get himself signed to PBC, because he sparred Gervonta Davis when Gervonta was preparing for Leo Santa Cruz. And he did well enough in that session that it got, I think, soon thereafter, he was on the PBC radar. So I saw, in that sparring session, not just with Tank, but with a lot of guys in Floyd's gym, all the things Shawn said. He has power, good power, southpaw, really good speed and athleticism, good skills. So he brings a lot to the table in a loaded division. I remember when I watched him, I said, damn, man, like lightweight has another killer on its hands, because, outside of the cream of the crop, the young guys, Tank and Haney and Lopez is moving up now for Campa, but, all those guys, Garcia, Michelle Ali Rivera, Isak Cruz, Frank Martin, Rayo Valenzuela, there's just a host of dangerous, talented young fighters in this division. And he's definitely one of them. He is, I think, on his way to being the definition of a contender in a loaded division, a guy who could potentially stand a real shot at knocking these other lightweights off. Keyshawn Davis, another guy who's in this mix. But Ricardo Nunez, I think Tank blasted him out in a round. I think Frank's more patient than that. I don't know if he'll get this guy out of there in a round, but wouldn't be surprised if he stops him in spectacular fashion. He brings a lot to the table. In a loaded division.
Shawn, let me ask you this real quick. Has the 135 division always been this thick and we just didn't know? Or is this kind of a wave that's come up for the 135-pound division?
I mean, historically, it's a very talented division. But no, this is a wave, because, you 4 or 5 years ago, let's see, I think it may have been 2019, you had Luke Campbell fighting Lomachenko, two veterans fighting for really all the marbles in the division. And then you look at the guys Lomachenko got through to get to the top. It was Linares, a veteran, Pedraza, a veteran. 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, it was a very good division. but Tank was hanging around 130. You know, Ryan Garcia and Haney were still, you know, very, very young and green. And no, the division is loaded in a way it hasn't been in probably a long time. It's extremely, it's arguably the most talented division in boxing. We just got to actually see these guys fight each other. Yeah. A lot of names in the division, but not enough of them taking each other on, you know?
Yeah. Hey, Shawn Zittel, I got one for you. Who's a guy in the 135 that no one knows right now that has something?
Yorkie's Gamboa.
I don't know. I'm sure.
He's got your heart, Carson.
Always.
That's all.
A guy that's a contender that no one's thinking of talking about.
I don't know. I think all boxing fans pretty much know the top 10. You know, okay. Even to the Michelle Ali Rivera's, like it's a well-known loaded division. And I'd have to look at the rank. I'm sure there's someone in the rest of my mind. Right now, I think to the top player in the division.
You know what it would have been for me would have been Frank Martin.
I was gonna say I think Frank Martin is that guy that nobody talks about that could actually be a world champion in his next fight if he was going up against a world champion.
Because outside of us hardcore fans, I don't think the cats was talking about Frank like that. Yeah, they're not thinking about Frank, or Frank's a problem.
It's no one's fault. I wouldn't say it's anything that he has or has not done to this point, but I do in my mind. So we're like we say who wins in the fight, Haney or Gervonta Davis? Who wins in the fight? You know, this guy, that guy. Honestly, I think that where we're talking about those guys and where we could debate, go back and forth, there's no one definitive answer. I honestly think that if we said who wins in the fight, Frank Martin or Devin Haney, we have to take everything into account, and that becomes more of a 50-50 fight than most people would expect us to say or think. Or let me just speak for myself. It's more of a 50-50 fight than most people would expect me to say. And I would go down the line with him. I would say that the fight between Frank Martin and Gervonta Davis is very close. I wouldn't say 50-50, but it's very close. And the list goes on. So,
hey, Shawn Porter, is he a highlight knockout away from turning the corner? You know, Keyshawn Davis got that big knockout, and it kind of pushed him a little bit. But with that,
Keyshawn had a bit of a profile coming into the pro ranks. Keyshawn, he promotes himself very well. I mean, he's a great talker. Got great character. What does he call himself?
Is it D3?
D3, yeah, D3. I'll throw a game time.
The businessman. I thought Keyshawn called himself.
Oh, yeah, he is the businessman.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought you were talking about Derek because they have D3 with the brothers.
Yeah, me too.
And Mighty Ducks. But.
He calls himself the businessman. You know what I mean? So he knows how it works. He's got ESPN to really help with all that. I really wouldn't say I wouldn't say Frank Martin is a highlight away. I think he's a fight away. They got to put him in the right fight, Carson. They got to put him in the right fight against a world champion, and I think that's what does it for him.
Yeah, and he'll open up the Showtime card this week, which should be a good. Usually, there's a pretty.
And not to talk about myself anymore, but that's kind of how it happened for me. It was before I fought Devin Alexander. That wasn't a highlight performance or a highlight reel or anything like that, but it just was the right fight at the right time, and I was kind of on my way. So I think that's how it's going to work for Frank Martin too.
Yeah.